Hey, you. Still not a fan of the idea that these fairly modern buildings have had a floor change. I'm just driving down the street, so I thought I'd stop. I've not driven on the street before. I'm just gonna give it a quick once over. You tell me that you think that sensible builders, people who were planning, who were building these things that they say are less than 100 years old, but I would offer that they might be a little older than that. I would not debate that they weren't maybe a little older than that, but why would you do that?
Ah, god damn it, it's another mud flooder. Thanks, David Lee, for leaving this in my comments section. You'll get your karma, don't worry. Roll the intro, Christ alight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Sarcastic Barman and welcome to my channel. Big shout out to all the subs that have come over from Creaky's channel. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoy your stay and don't forget to check out the shills. Links will all be in the description down below. Now, as you can tell from my background, I'm not in the pub. I'm still away and thought, I can't leave my subs not having content. I've got to try and make something. And hopefully this video will go out only 24 hours late than normal. Yay to planning. But anyway, we're going to check this video out from David Lee, who popped it in my comments section. It's a channel called Trinity 4. I believe he does have other channels, Mr. Trinity 4 Man. And yeah, he is downright damn crazy. So yeah, let's just crack on with it, shall we?
Why create that sort of an oddity? Oh, well, they wanted a basement. No, why not take this whole street and make it all one story higher?
No, just no. If you're going to record outside, record your audio afterwards. It's not a difficult concept. You're only looking at buildings, and badly, if I do say so myself. Now, cellars and frost. How is this a difficult concept? We'll just break it quickly. If you're going to dig foundations in an area affected by ground frost, you have to dig the foundations deeper. Sometimes several foot deeper, especially on older buildings. Now, once you've done that, what do you do with that space above the foundations? It's not really enough space to use as a floor. So, you add a few steps going up to the main floor of your building, and that space below becomes a part submerged basement. There you go. It's not a difficult concept. Now, I've grown up in pubs. And do you know what most of them have in common? They have underground cellars where we store all the beer. And yes, they have drop hatches to get the beer in. But do you know what none of them have ever had? A door. Not even a blocked up doorway. Because, well, according to you, shouldn't they have blocked up doorways? Because wouldn't that make sense? You know, otherwise how would you have got into the building originally? Do you think there have been giant steps going from the first floor down to the freaking level? Or do you think the ground floor was just like that? Yeah, you don't think these things through, really, do you? Move on.
Beneath this, they've had to put a step up.
Yeah, a step up, as I said before, because it would be cheaper to build that extra foot, maybe 2 foot going up, than it would to dig out another 2 foot below the entire building to make that basement area a usable space.
I mean, these are beautiful buildings. I suggest 150 years. One could say they were older, maybe 200 years, because most folks in the sort of mainstream mud flood community would say it's 1820, 1810, but it means that some very modern looking buildings. Here again, exactly the same problem as what I saw just now on the previous street.
Now, it only doesn't make sense to you. To most people, it's fine, cellars and basements are a thing. What doesn't make sense to me is how you always go on about mud flood and people go, yes, mud flood, look, cellars. Do you ever take into account how far or below sea level these things are and how on earth did this mud flood work? Because where you are now at the end of Elmwood Road, thanks for giving that, you're 126 feet above sea level. Yay! So, do the bits below not get mud flooded as much? Which, yeah, makes sense, but if it's going to go round the hill, shouldn't the ones below be even worse? So if you go down that hill, shouldn't the buildings be getting shorter? Do you ever take these things into consideration? I'm guessing not.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm very curious about the buildings in your street. You live here?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you, do you have a basement in your house?
I've got a cellar, but it's not.
It's a cellar.
It's
Okay.
just a cellar.
Yeah. Hard to use.
Big,
A big cellar.
massive.
Really?
Yeah, the width, the whole width.
The whole. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's pipes, and of course they're conversions.
Oh, right.
They're all converted into flats.
Yes, into smaller
Five
flats.
flats in these buildings.
5 flats.
Yeah, and the one bedroom I've got goes right to the back.
Wow.
Three
Wow.
one bedrooms.
Yeah.
And two bedrooms.
And this was once one home, wasn't it? It
Yeah.
would have been one person's home.
Absolutely. And you can see down in the cellar where they had the wine. They actually got the wine squares, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you think people lived down below once upon a time. Yeah. Yeah.
But
No, that little old lady did not imply that people used to live down below in them. She said there was the wine squares down there, as in it was used as a wine cellar, as in it's below ground level, it's cooler. You keep your wine there, not, yeah, it was somebody's bedroom or things like that. No. Twisting little old lady words, how rude.
Do you know how old this building is said to be?
I think it's Edwardian, I would say.
So about 150?
Not Victorian, is it?
No, I think
Oh,
it's.
Edwardian.
Yeah, so before Victoria.
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that right?
Yeah.
Or after Victoria? So that could only make it 120, 130 years old,
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They're all
Oh, would that be interesting because it would spoil your ideas? Oh, you think before you went out on this road and asking questions, you'd have some sort of idea. I mean, Google searches don't take long, really. But I will probably correct the old lady. I would say they're more Victorian than Edwardian, simply because they're lacking the Edwardian features. Yes, they're red brick, but they're lacking the mock Tudor wooden facades. The windows are looking slightly too small for an Edwardian period. They do look more Victorian, but because of the red brickwork, you could say they're late Victorian. So, yeah, but it still wouldn't fit your plan of when this mud flood was, would it?
Fantastic. My name's Dave. I found that very interesting.
You're an architect or something.
Yeah, well, I'm studying architecture, so I'm just interested to understand how these buildings came to be like this, you know, because it's a lot of effort to dig into the ground.
Yeah.
And then, of course, to try and keep the water from coming into the properties. In the Edwardian times, they wouldn't have had PVC, they wouldn't have had means of insulating it from the ground, so from the water.
As I say,
Whoa, 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 Eskimo, you're studying architecture? Are you studying it properly? Are you going to classes and things? Or are you just like normal people and occasionally read books on things? Because otherwise, shouldn't you have known what features to look out for? Shouldn't you have known what features make Edwardian houses, Victorian houses, going back to Georgian houses? Or are you just talking through your bottom right now? I think it's the latter, because otherwise you'd know why these houses are built the way they're built. This is, oh...
And is the basement also a high ceiling, or?
no, it isn't actually.
Oh.
It's low.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's got to be an 8 foot.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? I wonder why the floor that you think was once ground level wouldn't have big ornate ceilings like all the other floors on that building. Maybe because it was a cellar and just used for storage.
Again, one of the curiosities, because people were meant to be smaller back in the day, and also it was harder to build. So
Yeah.
why would they build all these big, tall, and heating such a big space would also make it more difficult.
Oh, yeah.
You seem to be perplexed by the most basic of things. Yes, people were shorter. About 11 centimetres shorter, so 4 inches on average. It's not a lot, really, in the grand scheme of things. And these houses weren't built for your everyday people who go work in the factories. As you can tell, they had wine cellars. They used to be one big building. These were built by people with a bit of money behind them. And heating and things wasn't going to be their main concern, really, was it? If you've got a wine cellar, I don't think you're going to be grumbling that much about heating in an age where there's no minimum wage, hardly any health and safety rules, and you can get kids to go and climb your chimneys and clean them out. This is a different time period we're talking about here, which you should know. You're studying architecture.
Well, there you go. I mean, to explain how come it might be a lower ground basement, I think possibly some of the flooding occurs, and then what they do is they'll put a new floor in at the bottom. So that's why you maybe lose some of the original height, because there has to be 6 foot of dirt on top of the original floor level here.
So, in your opinion, the mud flood happened, but then because the floor was too far down, they added an extra floor but then lost some height in their cellar, rather than they just built a cellar. And you're saying, oh, there must have been at least 6 foot of flooding up there. So you're on a 126 foot high hill. So if there's 6 foot worth of flooding there, how did this mud flood work? Was it just like a constant, if this is the hill, it just went, whoop, and then it was 6 foot all over? Or would there not have been more mud flood down in the valley bits, and shouldn't have a lot of it been evened out? Your whole premise for this makes no goddamn sense at all. Oh, see where else you're going to go with this.
That was a really fantastic opportunity to meet someone there and talk about her experience of having one of these, what we decided was Edwardian. Oh, what's that? They're not spraying us with flu, are they? Because I've had a lot of that in my household today.
No, I'm not doing this anymore. Jesus. Be calm. They are not spraying you with flu. Chemtrails are not a thing. Oh, dear me. I'm going to end the video here, because otherwise I'm going to scream my ass off at this guy. Oh dear. If you want to see me scream the ass off at this guy, just stay for after the outro. Oh. Right, you fucking moronic fucking twat! No, it's a Victorian building, it's not Edwardian. It might be late Victorian, but the features don't match with Edwardian. You'd fucking know this if you studied architecture like you said you did, you fucking cock! And as for the fucking chemtrails, no. Just fucking no. I bet next you're going to say you're vaccine fucking anti-vaccine crapping twat as well. For fuck's sake, just fucking no! Do you know how hard it was to do the entire video without saying fuck once? For fuck's sake! Thank you. Good night.